Welcome, fans, to episode 1 of the Rangers Ed Rivalry Tour. First stop, Long Island. We got the boys from Hockey Night in New York coming on. Excited for that. We're going to talk a little Ranger Islander rivalry. Always fun. But first, let's go around the board here. We got Little Ed. What's up, bud?
How we doing? Excited for the tour. That means hockey season's right around the corner.
What are you drinking there? What is that purple can you got there?
It's the Rocks energy drink, 0 sugar. It's got green tea, natural caffeine, and it's hopefully one of our next ambassador programs. So
that was an accident too.
I'm hoping they're watching, so I'm gonna leave it right here.
Yeah, that was just me being nosy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. No free ads.
Zoa energy drinks. This is the only free ad. And hopefully they accept us into their program.
Anything for Dwayne.
Yeah.
That's Mikey Produces over there chiming in. What's up, Mikey?
Looking like Dwayne in that little tee over there.
Yeah, Mike's got his small Alexis Lafreniere shirt on, size small.
To go with his small contract.
I got to know, is it a small or like what size is the shirt?
It says XL, but it does feel like it's like a large or a medium. It is.
That's why it was a Mark.
Yeah, that's why it was a
TJ Maxx special. Yeah,
that's an XL. Jeez. And Coach Ed over there. What's up, Coach?
What's going on, fellas? I need about a gallon of that. I need about a gallon of that energy drink.
Coach is gonna fall asleep.
Hopefully, we'll be getting them soon.
You know,
Coach is falling asleep over there, so we got to keep this one somewhat quick.
Remember from the earlier episodes, we knew Coach was getting tired when he started coughing, so we just got to look out for that. But,
well, I have a feeling once Sean gets on, he'll be fired up. It's like smelling the hockey rink. You get a little burst of energy when you get there.
Yeah, couple chirps and he'll be right in.
Yeah.
So anyway, boys, I just got back from the U.S. Virgin Islands, my first time there. And I saw a Coach Ed doppelganger, but he had tattoos. So it was like Little Ed, like your arm there, like tattoos like that on his arm. But literally, I looked at Theo and I was like, "Is that Uncle Eddie?" She's like, "Oh my God, that could be him." I was like, "Nah, he has tattoos. Look just like you. Cowboy hat. He's on the beach with a cowboy hat. Same like shirtless chest that you have, like everything the same, bathing suit, just look and literally same body type and everything from like the distance from the beach water. I was like, that's Coach. That's him.
I'm always watching.
She was like, take a picture. I'm like, no, take a picture of this shirtless man on the beach, dude. It's weird. Oh my God, so funny.
Well, you don't go up to the guy and take a picture. You make.
You should have had
take a selfie.
Like a selfie.
Yeah, or Theo goes over there and poses next to a tree or something. You take a picture.
Yeah.
Pretend to take a picture of her.
I swear to God, the guy looked just like you. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
Could have some Armelino blood in him. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But it was cool. I don't know if you saw it. I swam with the sea turtles.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Unreal. Those things are huge. One of them was about 5 feet long. It was like
crazy.
down to my knee. Yeah, from my head to my knee, man. It was tremendous.
Yeah, those are big boys.
And I wish we had.
Were you able to hold on to the back?
Nah, you can't touch them. It's a national park, so it's like everything is protected. But I want to bring Mikey Piersack on because I want to ask him. They had these two little like shark-looking like fish that followed the turtle everywhere. It was like it was like velcroed onto it. I think it was like eating the algae or something off its shell. Like, I have no idea.
They hook onto sharks also. What do they call those? I forget.
Well, I'm not going to pretend I knew this before looking it up, but they're called remora. I looked it up because I was curious. But yeah, they look like sharks. I'm curious what Mikey P would say. Very interesting. They follow everything around and just like latch on. They call it a symbiotic relationship. Oh, kind of like Kreider and Zibanejad, right? Symbiotic. But
that's amazing. Yeah, Mikey will definitely be joining us for the Bruins episode of the Rivalry Tour.
That's right.
That's probably the only Atlantic team we'll cover that's not in the Metro. Other than that, why don't you remind the fans what the Rivalry Tour is? Or if hopefully we have new fans since last summer.
Yeah, so every summer, leading into training camp, we do a rivalry tour where we go bring on some guests from all the Rangers rivals, and particularly in the Metropolitan Division. So Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Flyers, Penguins, Bruins. Try and bring on a Hurricanes or Capitals this year. We'll see. We'll see who comes on. And we just kind of look at those teams from their fans' perspective. Someone who covers those teams, so we get some insight into how the division's shaping up and where the Rangers really stand and their opinion on the Rangers as well. Plus, we get to chirp each other. It's always fun. So. Yeah, looking forward to it this year. No better place to start than the New York Islanders. Like I said, we got the boys from Hockey Night in New York coming on. So why don't we just bring them on now?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we got Sean Cuthbert and Stefen Rosner from Hockey Night in New York with us. What's up, boys? Hey, Sean.
How we doing? Happy to be here. How you fellas been?
Fantastic.
Been good. Waiting for hockey to come back,
Yeah, it's been a slow go, huh? Who needs the summer? Let's just get to the hockey.
Well, before we get to the hockey, any comments about our little golf outing we had the other day?
Oh, you mean the round of 9 where I let you guys win?
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, I mean, if there was winners and losers, we could. I don't know if you really want to discuss that.
Listen,
I think we were just
it
having some fun.
was a father-son duo. I didn't want to embarrass you guys in front of each other, so I took a little off. What are you gonna do?
Stick invite.
Well,
Stefen, you told me you've never held a golf club before.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I would have invited
It would
you.
have been embarrassed. My dad would have disowned me.
It would have been even more embarrassing than me, and that's pretty bad. So
yeah.
I was gonna
I
say,
didn't want to
you
slow
get a
these guys
nice
down
match
till midnight.
I took a look over. You were swinging the club pretty nice.
Yeah, that might have been one of the 2 times. Thankfully, Eddie caught that one, so that's good. That's good. I appreciate that, Ed. Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't post the bad ones on you, Sean.
Not yet, anyway. Right? We got to get closer before that.
Exactly. See how the season goes.
Yes, indeed.
What do you got? A Seattle Kraken hat? I like that, dude.
I do. Thank you. Yes, it's a favorite hat of mine.
Patch? Is that the shoulder patch?
Yes,
logo?
it is. Yeah. That's the needle going on into the anchor. Yeah, pretty clever. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
I just noticed that there was the needle. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Is that like your second team, or you just like?
I mean, I just like hockey. So I have like a bunch of hats from different teams and stuff. So no real favoritism towards.
Sean, you didn't follow Jordan Eberle over there? You sure?
I did have a few cries watching some of their highlights, but other than that,
All right, last comment on your wardrobe. You really wore a fish stick shirt. Of all the Islanders logos you
I
could
made
wear,
sure
that's
this
the one
shirt
you
was
chose.
washed and pressed just for you. Yes.
That's the only Islanders
There's no
logo
way
I
I wasn't wearing this shirt.
That is a good. I actually like that logo too.
I
A lot of
love
people
that
hate
logo.
it.
They should bring that back.
See?
They got to open a can of worms with that.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
one of those everlasting debates in Islander country that will never go away, and it's always going to be the olds versus the youngs. I'm in the middle. Yeah, trending towards the olds though.
Yeah, make sure clarify that.
So our usual fans recognize Sean from Hockey Night in New York, the host. But
What's
this is
it?
the first time Stefen Rosner's joined us. He's Sean's co-host, I guess you can call it, right, on Hockey Night in New York.
That's accurate.
That is accurate.
Well, I don't know how many co-hosts you got, like a rotation sometimes, man. So you never know. But Stefen, you got a new and exciting job.
Yeah.
Recently, so why don't you share that with our fans as well?
Yeah, so on top of the hockey news, I am the Islanders correspondent for NHL.com. So I'm really stoked and excited for that to get going, and appreciate everybody that has me on shows and talks and gives me the encouragement. So it's been awesome.
Wow, that's incredible. Good for you,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
You
you.
started
awesome.
this season, your first season doing it?
For .com, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna
yeah.
give me his 2 weeks in about at the end of the week, so I gotta look for somebody else.
See, that's why I don't want to call him your co-host. You're gonna have a replacement in 2 weeks.
Hopefully not.
No, I'm under contract. We're good.
There we go.
Nice.
Binding, ironclad.
Yep.
That's
awesome.
great, man. So you've been doing the hockey news for how long?
So I was with the old site until about March, and then the hockey news since then. So I work with Stan Fisher. It's been incredible. Guy's 91 and still going every day, and he's knows everything that's going on, and it's crazy that he's still got it. But he will forget more about hockey than I will ever know, and probably all of us, because he's been around since the 1920s.
Coach is going to ask you some Stan Fischler questions for sure.
No, he used to be so anti-Ranger. I think there was some old story about how he had a run-in with somebody on the Rangers, and he was so anti-Ranger in the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s. He had a big battle with Esposito early on in the late '70s. It was just a disaster. And he was so anti-Ranger, but I think he grew up a Ranger fan in Manhattan or Brooklyn or something.
He did, yeah. He grew up. He used to go to. He was telling me the neat names of the teams in some league that wasn't the NHL or the WHA. So I have no idea what he's talking about half the time. But yeah, when the Rangers moved in there,
what are you, Steph? What are you, like 15 years old? Or, you know,
Ed,
Nice.
I'm 25.
how much could you actually know? I mean,
He's still learning.
I am still learning. Yeah.
Good
No,
for you.
25.
You're never too old.
Yeah, I mean,
But anyway,
listen,
go
I can
ahead. I'm
still be
sorry.
doing this at 91 years old. God bless
Yeah,
me.
God bless. Yeah.
He is amazing. Did he make the Hall of Fame? I think he made the Hall of Fame.
No, so he was in the New York State Hockey Hall of Fame. There's the actual Hockey Hall of Fame. I don't know the full story behind it, but it seems a little political with things that happened in the past that people couldn't get over. He'll get in, unfortunately, probably after he passes away. That's how I feel like which is a shame because he's been covering hockey for like 76 years. So he definitely deserves it, though. I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah, that's a shame if he doesn't get in before he passes away. I mean, I never liked him as a kid either. I guess for the main reasons that Coach is talking about. I mean, there's a difference between being a broadcaster and not liking the Rangers, but like it was obvious. Like he just made it so obvious. And I remember being a kid, it was just like, come on. But as I got older, you appreciate like the love and like the passion for the game,
the work he's put in. Like liking someone and respecting someone is like two different things. So again, hopefully, I mean. He still loves every second of it. Doesn't have, I think he has a flip phone, but we email all the time. He lives in Israel actually too. So he stays up late to watch the games, gets up early and rewatches things and writes stuff. It's insane.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
Good for him.
Well, we'd love to have him on the show, so we'll see what happens.
As much as you hate him.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not listening.
Stan, thanks for coming on. You suck.
No, I like to hear
us my whole life.
I'd like to hear the story about what happened, why, whatever. But go ahead. Yeah. So what else is going on?
Well, apparently I birthday. Yeah.
When is your sweet 16?
Yeah, my sweet 16. I don't see Brenda. We can have one. If you want to throw one, I'll have a sweet 16. I never had one.
Stefen, I'm having Christian flashbacks right now, man. You've taken over for Christian Arnold as the young dude.
Well, if you want to do cultural appropriation, I should have a bar mitzvah again. We could do that. So
there you go.
Sounds good. It's been a long time since I've been at a good bar mitzvah.
Mine wasn't good, so yeah, no.
Make a lot of content out of that one for sure. So let's get into the Islanders. God. What do you say? I feel like there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, let's just jump right into this. So I read some rumors the other day. I'm curious. I'm gonna let you both comment on this. We'll start with Sean though. I read some rumors the Islanders were interested in Patrick Kane. Any reality there, or is it?
One? I thought we were
I'm going right to it. No, I'm going right to it.
I did not read those rumors. Did you get those on Hockey Buzz? Where'd you find that?
Twitter.
Oh yeah, I didn't see it myself. I think there was some rumblings around the trade deadline that I might have been looking at it, but I don't know if they still are now. Maybe Stefen can give a better answer than I can.
So I know for a fact at the deadline, Kane said he did not want to come to the Islanders. Now maybe that changes based on the offseason and where he's going to get, but I doubt it. I also don't see a fit. Like it's not Patrick Kane that we were watching 5-6 years ago. He's not a bad player, but coming off an injury. I don't know why. Lou has no cap space anyway, so I'm not really sure how he would even fit. I guess you could sign him, put him on LTIR, and play that game. Tampa will probably sign him. So,
yeah,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't you guys over the cap?
Yeah, they got.
They're like, I mean, depending on whether you're counting a guy on the roster or not, like they're either like a couple 100,000 over, a couple 100,000 under, but they're right there.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll just have to send someone down to cover that.
Yeah.
Listen, Kane in his prime alongside Horvat and Barzal probably sign up for that. But now, I don't know. We saw what happened with the Rangers and how he really it was like a forced situation for him to fit in there. And again, if he didn't want to come to the Islanders at the deadline and they didn't really make that many moves this offseason and he wants to go win a cup or whatever, I just don't see him being a fit. And then again, teams want to actually have to pay him. And he's coming off he had hip surgery or something. So, yeah, I doubt it. It's probably you probably saw it on Twitter from Facebook, from Hockey Buzz or some other.
That's how it goes
maybe.
these days.
Facebook
Yeah,
is
I don't see a fit either, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. It's just, I mean, even money aside, like, you know, then you have to wonder who they're going to unload for him, and you think about his age and everything like that. Like, I just don't think the Islanders are in a position to move mountains for, you know, a Patrick Kane that's in the twilight of his career.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, because I think on this podcast, we're hoping that he recovers and signs with the Rangers for a sweetheart deal later in the year.
You never know.
I mean,
wouldn't surprise me. You guys get whoever you want anyway. So
I would say Buffalo.
Oh, wow. The salt.
I mean, this is just true. I mean, this just goes back decades. I mean, come on. Brad Richards, Marty San Louis, and this is just off the Rick Nash off the top of my head. Oh, that guy's good. We should bring him on. All right, I'll sign. No problem.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back even further. Yaromir Jagr.
Yeah.
Bure, Eric Lindros.
Yeah. The list goes on.
Team sucked. The team sucked.
Wayne Gretzky.
But at the end of the day, guys, you
Gretzky.
still have nothing to show for it. Still no cups. Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. Not that we're doing anything better, the Islanders, but
Messier came over here and got it done.
Yeah, but that was back before color television, guys. You know,
I think it was in color.
It was definitely standard definition. It was definitely
What's standard definition?
I wouldn't want to watch it.
Stefan wouldn't know.
It was 240p quality.
At best, for sure.
Yeah. And it's been a long time. I mean, this year will be 30 years since the Rangers, if they don't win this year, it'll be 30 years without a Stanley Cup. So it's been a while. I was telling Little Ed maybe a month or two ago, a while ago, you know, we only got 25 more years to go, and then we get to see it again. So, I mean, I was 8 when they won, so I technically saw it, but 54 years will be 25 more. Let's see.
Wow.
Oh, you're getting me depressed, dude. You know,
that's what we're here for.
I could hear the jealousy. It's weird. You're like jealous and cocky at the same time.
It's a weird place to be in, but I pull it off.
He's a jockey.
Are you jealous of the Rangers, or do they suck?
Not
where
at
are
all. You? No, not at all. No, it's like serious answer. No. Like, I think it's great. It's nice because, like, back in, you know, in way back in ancient history, I used to follow baseball, and I was a Yankee fan. So that's kind of a weird place to be in, right? Like, knocking the Rangers for getting everybody, but then being a Yankee fan. So, like, to be jealous of that, no, it's just I'm observant of it, and it's just a fact. Like, look, and I get it. They play in Manhattan. They play at the Garden, original 6 team, great fan base. They treat their players like royalty. What's not to like? I mean, listen, as an Islander fan saying that, it sounds strange, but it's just taking facts as reality, right? Like, that's just how it is. And the Islanders just haven't had that. I mean, I'm sure you guys have at least a decent bit of knowledge on the history of Islander ownership and what they've gone through, and it just hasn't been the same story. They're still trying to, you know, build their reputation back up bit by bit, and they're finally on the right track with these no owners and stuff. But, like, yeah, there's a little, like, looking over the hedges, looking at the Rangers, like, oh, look what they're doing, look what we can't do, you know.
Wait a minute. You guys had Alexei Yashin.
Oh God!
Oh, were you jealous of that?
Oh man, I couldn't stand that guy.
No, they moved for that guy.
I mean, let's talk about all the superstars that they let go.
Who'd you trade for Alexei Yashin?
Chara.
And Spezza, the rights to draft Spezza.
And Spezza, right?
Spezza, Chara, Luongo.
Yeah. Well, that was a different deal, but yes, thank you for bringing back great memories, Coach. Appreciate it.
Luongo is for Mark Parrish, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah, it was Luongo and somebody else, I think, for Kavasha and Parrish. Yeah, Jokinen. That's right.
Oh my God, Kavasha.
Yeah.
These names are like making me nauseous.
Oleg Kavasha.
You nauseous. Think about how I feel.
What a terrible trade.
Yeah.
They also had, Carter.
All right, guys. Well, it's been great. I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Well, back to reality.
Yes.
In serious, well, I think obviously moving into Belmont and establishing Belmont as a new home is going to change things for the Islanders. And that's the last compliment that I'll say. But I'm serious. That's going to make a huge difference because over the years, you had the Barclays Center, even the Nassau Coliseum, fans loved it, but I'm sure the players didn't love it as much as the fans did, you know? So Belmont's a beautiful place. I mean, it's incredible. So I think that's going to obviously be a big thing.
Yeah, it has already. And it's funny. There's a dude, Dan Saraceni. He actually hosts another Islander podcast. Was it Lighthouse Hockey? I think it's called. And no, Islanders anxiety. Sorry, Dan. But he put this quote out on Twitter, and it was something, I'm gonna butcher it, but basically like, nobody wants to be traded to the Islanders. Nobody wants to sign with the Islanders. But as soon as they end up an Islander, they never want to leave. Like, it's the strangest thing, but it's the truth. Like, once they actually end up with the team, they're signing the rest of their life extensions. They're sticking around, and there's something about, and they're still trying to get rid of this reputation, but there's still something about the team where, it's not the first destination for players, but once they end up there, they're like, wow, this place is actually pretty awesome. They like the team. They like the management, the ownership now, the buildings, the practice facilities. So now they all want to stick around. Horvat signed a contract before he even stepped on the ice. It's definitely it's nothing like where the Rangers are at, but like for an Islander fan to see something like that happen, it's definitely a step in a better direction that we really haven't seen.
Now, why do you think that is? Do you think, Lou is still playing a huge part in that? We always joke around about how he's got to be almost done.
It starts at the top. You said it yourself. Like, it's the ownership. It starts with ownership, right? And then that trickles down to hiring the right people. Now, you can get your digs in about how old Lou is and whether the game's passed him by. There's plenty of Islander fans that feel that way now. But it starts at the top. You got owners that are willing to spend, that are willing to keep their hands off of hockey operations. They let the hockey people do the hockey stuff. They provide the salary. They're a top cap team now, and they have a locker room with a reputation for having players that it's kind of like a family in there, and there's a lot of camaraderie in there, and that draws players to that. And they have a top-notch practice facility, so they finally have all the elements now. I think the last thing is just winning. And they came close a couple years. They had a couple nice conference finals runs, but they really got to establish themselves as like a perennial winner, I think, before they become one of those top destinations.
The first things people say when they get, like, when Horvat got to the island and Engvall, is about the guys in the room, like how awesome the guys were. Again, that group is so close. And I think also location. You're 10, 15, 20 minutes from the beach, 30, 40-minute train ride to the city. That's why people, again, everyone wants to go to the Rangers and stuff. They don't really know Long Island. Especially if you're like a European player, New York City. Like, New York is New York City. You have no idea what Long Island is. And that comes back to the winning and everything too. If the Islanders dynasty happened the last 4 years, then European players would know a lot about probably the Islanders. But with the lack of winning when those kids were growing up and whenever they were born in the early 90s or late 90s, no, it was bad. The Islanders weren't a thing people really watched if you were outside of Long Island. So I think, yeah, like Sean said, the next thing is winning, because guys come here and don't want to leave. Now it's about getting that, again, they need that superstar finisher, and that's going to be someone that wants to come here because they believe that this group can win. So if they can have another good season this offseason coming up with the cap going up, it'll be really interesting, because a lot of guys signed one-year deals because they knew the cap would go up. So we'll see. They have to have a good season, though.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the moves they made. You're saying they have to win. So I'm looking at some of the re-signings. I'm curious what your guys' opinions are, because I'll share mine after you guys share yours. Pierre Engvall, 7-year deal, $3 million per. Scott Mayfield, 7-year deal, 3.5 per. Obviously Sorokin, 8-year deal, 8.25 on him. Varlamov got a 4-year deal, 2.75. So just looking at all of that, that's a lot of term to hand out to those 4 players. And aside from Sorokin, who's obviously probably the best goalie in the league, with Shesterkin and Vasilevsky and whatever, those aren't like top line guys, so you're locking yourselves into long term, probably to bring the AAV down on some of those guys. But it's a lot of term for Scott Mayfield, who's a third pairing D, and Engvall, who's a third liner. What do you guys? I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Well,
you can go first, Stefen.
Yeah,
he's a second liner. Sure.
Well, that's the Islanders, though. There's a lot of guys that play in a second line role, and other teams might be a third line, or a fourth line guy might not even be in the league. So
right, yeah, exactly.
I think looking at all the contracts, the one that probably jumps out, I didn't think it's the Engvall one. I think it's Varley getting 4 years. I think you looked at it as, okay, every year Sorokin's got more of the workload. Varley, having Varley as a backup for another 2 years, I thought if they could do 2 years and get it down to 2.5 at least, 50% pay cut, that's great. If it was 4 years, you would hope it gone down even more. But I asked Lou about it. Why 4 years? Why not just 2? And he said that it's a lot about the relationship with Sorokin. If Sorokin's agent could have said to Lou, "Hey, we're signing an 8-year deal. We want Varley here for at least 4 of those, at a minimum 4 years, to be there for 4 years." And then listen, Lou was willing to do whatever he had to do to keep Sorokin happy. And Varley was honest from the beginning. He never wanted to leave. He wanted to finish his contract, wanted to resign. And yeah, maybe it's high, but you also have to remember too, is the cap's going to go up. So these contracts like Scott Mayfield, that contract might suck in 4 years just in terms of his skill set on the ice. But again, given what he's getting paid now, you're going to be giving that to those kind of defensemen anyway in a couple of years. So I think financially it'll be fine. I just think Scott does a lot more than people give him credit for. Penalty kill guy, blocking shots, big body, he could shoot. Playoff stuff. And then you look at a guy like Pierre Engvall. I mean, that whole second line with him, Nelson, and Palmieri, for whatever reason, clicked. And I think it would have been an issue for the Islanders had they let Engvall go and that line didn't work out. Like, he could come back and that line could be terrible. But if you didn't give that line a chance, given how hot they were second half when Engvall got there and the playoffs being their best line, you didn't bring him back and he went somewhere else and lit it up. I feel like you couldn't risk losing him either. And again, years are years, but if you're in your prime 27, those last couple of years, again, most players aren't good in the final couple of years of long-term deals anyway. And I think, again, Sorokin, I think it's low. I think he could have gotten more. I mean, I realistically think whatever he asked for, the Islanders have no choice because he's their only superstar. And they have a chance of winning as long as he's in goal. But, yeah, I think he took not a pay cut. Like, again, that's a good amount of money. But I think he certainly
No, you're right. It's under market. I mean, he could have commanded over $9 million. With his numbers, especially with his analytics, his goals saved above expected.
I think it's more of his stature on the team.
What did you say?
Yeah,
I think it's more like his stature on the team. He could have demanded more, like you said. I mean, those are fighting words saying that Barzal and Horvat's not a superstar, but we'll let that slide. I don't care.
I think Barzal's a star. I think the difference between the superstars in this league and then Barzal is that he's just strictly he could shoot, but he's just more of a playmaker, and that separates your ability. If you could score in big moments, come up clutch, and you've proven to do that, then you're a superstar. But if you're more of a Backstrom to an Ovechkin, which I think that's how I view Barzal, he needs that Ovechkin, and hopefully for the Islanders' sake it's Horvat. But yeah, not to get rid of anything that Barzal has done. But I just think, again, if he was a legitimate goal scorer, scoring 35 goals a year, then he's a superstar because he could do everything. But he's not that he's one-dimensional, but we know what his strengths are, and we certainly know what his weaknesses are. So, yeah, but I think Sorokin, like if they wanted to rebuild, they would have to move Sorokin because he's going to steal you games that you're trying to lose. So, I think Sorokin had all the leverage in the world, and he really loves it here too. Again, coming over, learning a whole new alphabet and language, I think he's so comfortable here. And they have Romanov, who's Russian, and they have Varlamov. I feel like going to a new place, learning all these new things. He's not 20 years old. He's 28 or 27, 28, just turned 28 actually. So I think he's so comfortable here in that he had no thoughts of going anywhere else.
I think
John Wilkins his best bud. So
yeah.
That's good. Sean, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on Engvall? Because Stefen seems to really be high on Engvall, but I mean, I look at Engvall as like a 30-point player. Like, he's going to score 15 goals, 30 points. Like $3 million for that, to me, I'd rather spend that in a different way. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's a bad player. He is good. I don't know. I haven't watched him game in and game out to know like how he impacts the game outside of points, really. So I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
No, he might be, and he's actually been a hot topic on our show since he came over, kind of asking that same question. And we talked about the fact that he's a guy who has a lot of speed, which is something the Islanders need, especially with an aging core. And he's a guy who is kind of buried behind a lot of talent in Toronto. We've talked about that in the show too. You know who your top six is on the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And the question is, was he a guy who was kind of buried behind that? I remember we kind of learned that he's a guy who was like, listen, you're going to be more of a middle six, bottom six guy for this team because of who we have, sort of thing, right? So we got flashes of what he can do on the Islanders' second line, like Stefen said. And we're kind of waiting to see what he can do in an 82-game season playing next to a guy like Brock Nelson, playing with Kyle Palmieri. The good news is he's kind of a utility guy. He can play both wings. He can play center if one of their 8,000 centers goes down. So that's a good thing. But and as far as the contract goes, I mean, I think the only one of those ones is the Sorokin one that doesn't give you pause, right? The rest of them, you look at 7, 8 years, whatever it is, right? And Pierre Engvall, and I guess I can lump Mayfield in here too, is that they're still low on the AAV, and the cap's going up. They're going to end up with more cap space. So, like, I think that with a guy like Engvall, you're willing to take that risk because he's still only, I think, 27 years old. He's on that younger side compared to the rest of the team. He can grow with this team. And if you find a diamond in the rough and he ends up being a 40, 50 point second line guy at $3.5 million, that's not so bad. And if he turns out to be more of a third line guy, then you plug him in there and it's not the end of the world. You're not paying him, $5 million like they are JG Pajot to play the third line.
Yeah, you can move that. Yeah, you can move it. Yeah. When the cap goes up.
And one last note on those contracts, and I think this is kind of a league-wide thing, is that like when you're signing guys to 7-8 year deals, I mean, the vast majority of players that get those contracts, they're not even expecting to play out the end of those deals, right? They get into their mid to late 30s. They're either getting dealt off with a pick to the Arizona Coyotes or they're getting bought out, right? Like how often do you see players? Yeah, they're finally back. But like, how often do you see guys really play out the end of those contracts anyway, right? You always hear about the team that, oh, so-and-so, he's 34, he's making 4.5, he's only putting up 20 points. They got to find a way to get rid of him. And then all of a sudden you're seeing a deal like Josh Bailey going to the Hawks, right, with a draft pick. It happens all the time. So, is it a long amount of years? But you see time and time again, the teams are able to get out of these long contracts. So I think it's just, as you said earlier, Cousin Ed, it's a matter of keeping the AAV down and just kind of Tetrising these guys into a roster, up against the cap the way that they are.
Yeah, I guess when the cap goes up, you can look into moving who you got to move to bring in, like Stefen said. You guys need a scorer. I mean, Horvat can score for sure, but
we just got to know if he can score on the Islanders. That's the question. He didn't.
Can he
do it?
I don't really
Coach
think
is awfully quiet over there.
Yeah.
Well, you guys
just
are
amazed
talking.
by
I'm
the
listening.
brilliance. I get it.
I'm listening. There's a lot of information.
Coach, why don't you talk about Horvat a little bit? What do you think of Horvat? Is he a superstar, a star?
All I'm hearing is that people are saying lose a dinosaur, but the fact that he's doing these long-term deals, stretching things out and getting guys, it sounds like he knows what he's doing.
I think he knows more than people give him credit for.
The guy knows what he's doing,
Well, he'll also be retired before those contracts end. So
it's
kind of like, all right, 8-year deal, 8-year deal. Yeah.
You never know. Stan, the Maven's still going at 91.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
Oh God, that's all we need is a 91-year-old general manager. That'll pan out well.
My question to you guys is, I get all that. I mean,
90s
like
to
Eddie
do 50, man.
Like Eddie said, I don't watch the Islanders day in and day out. When I do watch Mayfield, I'm not impressed, so I don't get that. But what do you guys think about the coach? You think he could take him to the promised land? What's going on with that? I don't see it when I watch him. I don't get it.
Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I think first off, Lane's a great guy. He doesn't like talking to the media, but outside of the media and the cameras, nice guy. It's just the whole Trotz thing. We all know that there's definitely things that went on behind there that happened, and no one will know for sure until maybe years down the road.
Until the book comes out.
Yeah, till the book comes out. But I think what the Islanders should have done is if they were in win now mode, you kind of got to bring in a coach that's a veteran coach. And I think them trusting Lambert, giving him that chance. Again, he was a rookie head coach, but he's been behind Trotz for pretty much his whole entire coaching career. And then he went through rookie mistakes. And unfortunately for a team that isn't that many rookies, it's an older veteran team, you kind of didn't want a coach to have to go through a learning curve. And that's what happened. Again, also, Lane had to deal with Barzal missing significant time, Pelech, who is probably their most important player, missing time, and things like that. I think he has what it takes to be a good head coach. He's got to get more from the leadership group there. Again, there was a lot of times where there were slow starts, and a coach, we know, have to get your guys ready to go. But at the same time, we all played hockey. Like your coach, especially even when we're playing men's league, like if you have a coach, like you shouldn't have to get the guys going. They should be ready to go. So I think it's more, those issues are more on the leadership group than Lane. But at the same time, it's easier to fire a coach than fire a player. So I think Lane, I don't know if he's on the hot seat going into this year, but I think if they get to December and it's been bad, that's probably the first move that would be made. Because again, we know Lou, he doesn't really wait to fire people.
We gotta see how much Lambert learned from his first year last season.
Exactly.
I think that's really what we're waiting to see this year. I mean, he came from the tutelage of Barry Trotz, which was a great place to come from. He tried a different style the first half, almost 2/3 of the season last year, and that's kind of why they ended up behind the 8 ball. And then he was like, okay, if we want to make a run here, I'm going to have to do a little more Barry Trotz hockey, and they did. They shifted gears. It worked. They went on that run towards the end of the season, and as you guys know, they squeaked in literally on the last day of the playoffs. So I'm even curious just to see if that's what he goes back to from game one, or if he tries to go back to more of a hybrid style of up in the scoring, but it blew up in their face, and they just couldn't handle things on the defensive end. So I'm curious to see if he plays it safe and goes a little more of the Barry Trotz route, or if he tries to plug in some more offense. So we'll see. But I think he deserves another chance. And the fact that he was able to rally them at the end of the season last year was a good sign. So he definitely deserves a shot to see if he can take them further this year.
And it is important too. Trotz didn't do it a lot, but Lane benching Bailey and taking him out and moving and letting younger guys get chances. We saw like 4 or 5 guys make their NHL debuts last year. And some of those, like Simon Holmstrom, who I don't know if he'll make, earn a spot out of camp. I guess it depends if Parise comes back. But like he played well until he had injuries and then confidence. Same thing with Bolduc going up and then his confidence. So I think Lane did something that we really haven't seen the Islanders do in a long time, is let young guys play and show a little bit. Now those players have to execute, and we know the Islanders prospect pool is at the bottom 3 of the league, I guess, based on rankings, which mean absolutely
Number
nothing.
30.
But, yeah, it is
according to one publication. Let's be fair.
Thing with prospects,
it's bad.
You really don't know. Like this guy Maggio could be the absolute steal of his draft, or he could be an overage bust. So we don't know. But I think for the Islanders, they have prospects that maybe they're bottom 6 guys, but if there's a bottom 6 guys like the Islanders' entire 4th line, there's going to have to be some turnover at some point. So if there's a prospect that could do that role, like I know Eetu Liukis, who doesn't get a lot of credit, one of the Islanders' prospects, they say he's legitimately Matt Martin. He just hits, plays the body, blocks shots, smart player, but is a 4th line grinder. And at some point, that might be, he's not going to get ranked as like a top 20 prospect in hockey, but the Islanders are going to need that. So I think grading prospect pools is something we'll get into another time, but it's a lot of writing for things that you have to see them play out.
Well, I'm glad you brought up before you mentioned the leadership group. I saw that you wrote an article a few days ago on Hockey News about the leadership group. I guess Josh Bailey was he the most like tenured Islander before they shipped him off? So, losing him as an assistant captain, I feel like he was more of a captain in a sense, So who's going to fill that role? Are they going to keep the same ones? Who's the other one? Brock Nelson, I think, right?
Brock Nelson. So it was Clutterbuck, Bailey, and
Clutterbuck,
Lee.
Yeah.
But Clutterbuck missed a lot of time, and Bailey was out of the lineup. So Brock Nelson got the A off day. So I'm assuming that he'll get an A this year for sure. And we have to see too if Clutterbuck says he's healthy. I saw him today. He's skating, looks healthy, doing push-ups on the ice and stuff. So he looks good and ready to go. But if you want to be a leader, you got to be able to stay on the ice and play, because that's why goalies don't get it, because the goalies aren't involved near the bench and they're not in the huddles and everything like that, and they're not controlling things. So I feel like if Clutterbuck isn't going to be an everyday player for the Islanders this year, does he put his I'm not saying he has an ego, but hey, listen, if I'm not going to play every day, someone that's on the ice every day should be wearing the A. Now, the thing that the Islanders have, which is great, and I talked about it briefly in the story, is that there's so many guys that don't need A's. Everyone's got a voice in that room. Horvat coming over, he was the captain. Zach Parise, we'll see if he comes back, but he was the captain with the Devils. Fashing, who was probably one of the bigger surprises in hockey, he was the captain of the Coyotes Railroad. What's the team?
Roadrunners?
That one, correct. He was the captain of them there. Barzal was the captain in junior. So they have guys that are leaders, just don't wear a letter. And I think that's why, again, people come here and love this group, because I think I talked to Martin about it, and he said, everybody in this room, whether you're a first-year player, Bailey-esque playing that long for this team, like everyone could say what's on their minds, and they collectively as a group. And I think Anders Lee, again, is a perfect captain for this team. Now, his leadership's been in question a lot, and if the guys aren't getting going, he definitely deserves a little bit of blame there. But Trotz told an amazing story about when Tavares left, he called every player. And he said, hey, if you had to pick, like, who would you want as captain? Lee was the answer that came off everybody's tongue. So that just goes to show how people view Lee. And again, he's got so much support too. So I think the leadership group is great. But at the end of the day, though, again, slow starts and little things like that, I think you got to point more at the players than the coach, because you're NHL players. I don't think you should have a coach telling you, hey, guys, let's go out there and try from puck drop.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
we've been saying a lot of.
That may
Go
be
ahead,
true,
George.
and I agree with you to a degree. But the coach has to know whose buttons to push to
Oh,
get
for
that going. So after all these years with Trotz, he should be able to know how to push certain buttons. I mean, I'm sure Trotz is a master at it. He's had a lot of superstars under his belt, and
There were
he
two.
went to Washington and won the cup with a bunch of guys that he had to control. So I would hope Lambert would have learned a little bit from him.
There were two glaring issues with this team, you could say, from a coaching standpoint. And one was the slow starts throughout the season, which was just baffling. And you got to figure some of that's on the players too. But the other one's the power play. Power play was absolutely atrocious. And if they had just a middling power play, they could have been a top 3 team in the division, not worrying about the wild card. And maybe they could have beaten the Carolina Hurricanes if they could just find a way to pump a puck in the net on the power play. So that's one thing we're going to be looking out for big time. And yeah, the coaches can draw up X's and O's, left and right. The players still got to execute it on the ice. But, you look at the horses on this team. Yeah, there's no Patrick Kanes, there's no Alex Ovechkins, but they got guys who can put the puck in the net 5-on-4. So they got to figure something out with the power play. That's something I think people are going to be looking at Lane Lambert for a lot this year is how the power play responds after a really bad last season.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the standings from last year. Like you guys said, they fought to the end. They got in at the end, squeaked in as a wild card. Actually, the first wild card because Florida and Pittsburgh and Buffalo were all right there battling as well.
Yep.
So you ended up squeaking in as the first wild card. I mean, you look at the top 3 teams in the Metro: Carolina, New Jersey, and the Rangers. Do you think the Islanders are going to be in that mix, or you think they're more of a wild card team, or you think they're not going to make the playoffs? I mean, you guys are. I got to be honest. We've been doing this 45 minutes. You guys are really high on the Islanders. Like I'm not as high as you guys are on any of these players, like Pellick and.
I don't know.
Well, that makes sense. You don't watch them day in day out.
No, that's true.
We're
high
compared. So compared to those, like I think Devils and Carolina will be back up there, 1 or 2, whatever the order is. You can never count out the Rangers. You don't know. I think the Islanders again. I think the difference is though, like they could be a wild card team again, but not take 82 games to get there. And I think that's the biggest issue. Like Sean said, I think if their power play was 2% higher, they get in well before the 82 game mark because they're just the power play too often just was an advantage for the other team. And they lost so many close games I went back. I have to look back at an article, but I went through their losses and how many games they lost by a goal and how many of those games were they over on the power play. Whether that goes to overtime or they win, that's another point. And I think how bad Pittsburgh played in January and Capitals, how bad they played. I mean, the reason the Islanders made the playoffs is because those teams were that bad in January. If those teams have strong Januaries, Islanders are done. But they got that extra life and they found a way. The power play is everything. I just think until they get that elite score, it's going to be so hard for them to stay with the teams like the Devils because they have raw speed and they have Jack Hughes is just an absolute superstar. The Hurricanes seem like their defense is going to be unreal, and they have those forwards that are game changers. So I think until the Islanders find a way to, I guess, change the way they play, and again, it won't happen because they're not going to be able to get that fast, that quick, that young, that quick. But everything changes, though. I mean, if Horvat and Barzal do the unthinkable, right, and Horvat somehow mimics what he did with Vancouver, and Barzal healthy, I mean, everything changes if those guys lead the charge.
Well, that's what a big wild card for this team is, and I think a lot of people are discounting it. Is the fact that people keep saying they're running back the same team, and Stefen's put a piece out on this too. And yeah, like if you look at the literal roster sheet, yes, they are. But Bo Horvat and Pierre Engvall, I'm not saying Engvall's a star here, but they only came in towards the deadline. And 6 games after Horvat came in, the guy who was supposed to be his running mate, Matt Barzal, went down for the rest of the season. So now we're getting a full training camp with the two of them together. They're going to be probably stapled together on that first line still. They're going to have time to work on the dreadful power play. Again, if they can just score a few more goals together on the power play, already that's a big difference.
Those two together was electric in those 6 games. I mean,
you're going from 6 games last season having those two guys together for fingers crossed 82 if these guys can stay healthy, right? And as Stefen mentioned before, they lost their best defenseman in Pellick for an extended amount of time. They lost a couple other guys in that squad for an extended amount of time. And don't get me wrong, every team has their injuries and good teams battle through them. There's no question about it. I'm not saying the Islanders suffered any more injuries than the rest of the league, But if a couple of those things pan their way, yeah, I can feel a little more optimistic about this team. I don't think they're catching the Devils, a team like the Carolina Hurricanes. I do think they can give you guys a run for their money, though. I'm not saying I'm sitting here right now being like, no question, the Islanders are finishing above the Rangers, but do I think they can? I do. But just the same, if Kyle Dubas doing his work over with Pittsburgh, bringing in Erik Karlsson, and if he gets that team, coming in, you're going to have those guys tougher this year. You're going to have Detroit a little bit tougher this year, Ottawa for sure, Buffalo. So I think it can go a lot of different ways. You probably have your hierarchy in the Eastern Conference, your Carolinas, your Jerseys, look at the other side. Maybe now your Floridas, maybe they'll probably put in a full 82 game season now. Boston's interesting. They just lost their top 2 centers, right? They're going to drop. You got your Toronto in there. Yeah. But then after that, you might have more of a middle of the pack somewhere in there with the Rangers and then the Islanders and a couple other teams. And then you're going to have a bunch of teams vying for the wild card. So I think the spread is a little wide for the Islanders. There's a lot of what ifs, but I don't think those ifs are like wild. I don't think it's just like, the Islanders don't need anybody to be a 50 goal scorer. They just need a better power play and they need to stay a little healthier. And then I really do think they can compete a lot more than they did last season and a little better coaching from Lambert now that he has a year under his belt for sure.
Yeah. I think the best thing to debate this whole summer has been this whole belief about the running it back thing. And like Sean said, I've been pretty vocal about it and wrote about it. It's just not true. Again, look at the paper, it's the same players, but it's just so many things are different. Again, guys coming back from injury is one thing. Romanov, he struggled mightily in the first half, and then he figured things out, grew exponentially in the second half. So he's coming back, sure, same roster and running it back. It's a different Romanov than the first half of the season. Other guys like that, Palmieri, until he got back from his injury.
Yeah, but some guys are first half performers and struggle in the second. I mean, Romanov could just be an inconsistent player. I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to be the second half Romanov all season.
No, for sure.
Right. Yeah, but that's kind of what we're waiting to find out. That's one of those what ifs, right?
But he's young enough. Yeah, he's young enough.
Exactly. And and it's funny too, because Noah Dobson is kind of considered the Islanders power play quarterback. He's now got essentially back-to-back 50-point seasons, and that's also by being on a dreadful power play. I mean, maybe the guy puts up 60 something points if they can actually put the puck in, if he can figure that out. He's got to tie up his defensive end a little bit too. He's great on the offensive side, but he was definitely responsible for some goals against the cost them last season. So yeah, there's a lot of ifs, but again, they're not pie in the sky, like dreaming, in the clouds here. Like, if they can come together, they can be a better team. I don't think they're a team you can sleep on, especially with Ilya Sorokin between the pipes, the defenseman that they have, and they still have a veteran squad who knows how to win in this league.
Coach, are you worried about the Islanders?
I mean, what Sean's saying and Steph's saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm definitely not going to say they're out of the playoffs by no means. When you have a number one goalie, you're always involved with if the defense comes around. The team's gonna have to play 2 ways though.
For sure.
You could have all that. You could have all that speed like the Devils did. They got to play 2 ways when it comes down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I agree generally that I think it's the Rangers, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders for that third Metro spot. And then, it's going to be a battle for the other 2 teams because I think Buffalo's grabbing a spot, whether that's one of the Atlantic spots or a wild card. Boston, you just can't count Boston out. Even with everything, you just can't. Last year we had Boston out of the playoffs. We're like, no, all these injuries, they're out. They're our sleeper to miss the playoffs, and they're the best record of all time, right? So
not only us,
but now you lose Bergeron and Krejci. I mean, I don't know. It's like obviously this guy Montgomery worked wonders with them, right? But I don't know, how do they recover from losing those 2 guys?
Well, Krejci's not definitely out, is he?
Yeah,
he's retired. He's finished.
Oh, he did.
They lost their top 2 centers. They're both gone.
I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, and it's funny how you guys are looking at the Islanders and you're like, oh, I think they can get into that top spot or in the top 3 in the Metro.
Maybe.
We look at the Rangers and we're like, can we actually win this division? Is it possible? And we're not really looking behind us, but
right, because you're looking at your positive what ifs, your optimistic what ifs.
We're looking at our what ifs, right?
If it goes this way, if it goes that,
Kako,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're doing. So, but see, our ceiling is like your number 3 spot. Your ceiling might be the first spot in the division. But like the cool thing is, I mean, with the parity in the league, I mean, anything could happen. The wrong guy gets hurt, or some young stud, comes out of nowhere. Like Oliver Wahlstrom, huge question mark for this Islander team. He's a guy who's, drafted in the first round. Maybe last year could have been his coming out party. He has that injury in December and it derails the season. Maybe he comes into play, this year. Maybe he ends up, bumping Anders Lee off the first line and he ends up playing his off wing with Horvat and Barzal and he starts racking up goals, a guy we weren't even thinking of, right?
That's what they should do.
Yeah,
honestly.
They might.
They should do that.
But like he's a guy who nobody's really thinking of or nobody's putting heavy expectations on. But if he comes in and steps on the ice and starts scoring goals like the talent that he has, then all of a sudden you might be looking at a whole different Islander squad. He could be that missing key where all of a sudden he's sending bombs off on the power play because he has that capability. He just hasn't put it together yet. Yeah.
It's got a great shot.
Yeah.
Coach, by the way, these guys are talking about Dobson and Wahlstrom. We're taken right after the Rangers took Vitaly Kravtsov, just so you know. I think
Thanks.
And they're both on the Islanders contributing.
They're both in the NHL playing, multiple games and producing.
Sorry, boys. Yeah.
That's okay. Hey, who starts in net for Team Russia at the Olympics if they're ever allowed back in?
Huh.
Yeah, never allowed
the
back.
country formerly known as Russia. What do they call them in the Olympics now?
Oh, it's the ROC.
There you go.
So, you got Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, and Sorokin.
That's
not bad.
Probably Vasilevsky to start,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be a rock, paper, scissors between Shesterkin and Sorokin. It's crazy. It's crazy how good the Russian goalies are, and they just come over here and absolutely dominate. So, yeah, it's probably the best goalie lineup in any country. So,
Those are the top 3 goalies in the league, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
It comes in waves. I think I was reading an article. Someone put this together. Like when Lundqvist came out, Sweden was on a high in goalies. Like Sweden was pumping out goalies, and Russia didn't have any goalies. And then I guess like the youth coaches into this kind of stuff because he coaches youth hockey, so he goes to like the USA hockey trainings and stuff like that. But like the youth in Russia coaches were like, we need to focus on goaltending.
Yeah.
And then they just
You're
started
right,
pumping
though.
up goals.
It does seem to come in waves. I remember Sweden, Finland had with Kiprusoff and a couple of guys for a few years in the early 2000s. And I mean, obviously Canada, right? Luongo, Brodeur, and pick your third guy, right? And then the U.S., I guess, Brian Miller, Jonathan Quick, and maybe another guy that I'm not thinking of at the moment. But yeah, it seems to go. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Ottinger.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
awesome.
you're always gonna have the consistent countries, and then there's one that's always surprising.
Yeah, but
like,
Russia's a factor right now.
Like for instance, USA Hockey had this thing. This is going back like 6 years ago. They wanted to have 51% of goaltenders in the NHL. That was their goal to train. They're not going to get to that, obviously, but that's their goal in men's and women's hockey. They wanted to have that 50% starting goalies.
Hey, younger goalies in Russia right now that watch the NHL are watching. I mean, they're going to grow up and want to be goalies. I mean, you have Ovechkin, sure, but a lot of these young guys starting out now, they're not going to really get to watch Ovechkin's career unfold. They're watching the guys in goal absolutely dominate, so they're going to want to be goalies. So I think, the times change everything.
They don't. It doesn't matter what they want to be; it's what they tell them to be in Russia. So,
are they even allowed to watch the NHL?
You're a
left.
You're a left wing. You're a left wing. That's the thing. So I'm curious. Your thoughts on the Rangers. We talked a lot about the Islanders. Obviously, you don't watch every Ranger game or anything, but you saw the moves in the offseason, bringing in Blake Wheeler, mostly guys on $800K deals for depth. And the development of the youth and, where you see the Rangers, did you feel like they took a step back last year? Do you think they're going to take another step back? Whatever your thoughts are generally going into the year. Start with you, Sean.
Oh, I was going to give that to Stefen.
Oh, go with Stefen.
Yeah, go.
I was just trying not to leave it open to the room.
We'll get the non-biased opinion first.
I thought a lot of moves they did were leave out early ass. I think going and getting those older guys on team. We'll see how it pans out. Like I still think Blake Wheeler's got some more left. I don't think it's a bad move. I just think this team's frustrating. I think if you're a Ranger fan because there's so much potential, and I know a lot of teams have that, but you have 2 young guys that if one of them takes that next step, the Buchnevich trade, that obviously didn't pan out. Things that they did last year didn't work. I just think you need your top guys to be elite. I know, Panarin, it puts up the numbers, right? And everyone, you can't really complain about what he's done. Kreider with the goals that he scored. I just feel like in those bigger moments, those are when you need those veterans to come through. And I think that's why maybe you brought in more of those guys on minimum deals, those veterans, to maybe help push those younger guys. Because you had Fox, Kakko, Lafreniere. You had a lot of young guys. You had the youngest team in hockey. And now I think is it over 30 now? I think that's.
Yeah. We're one of the oldest now.
Yeah. So
Congratulations.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
It was a quick rebuild. Didn't work. We're rebuilding.
Welcome to the club.
The whole age thing is funny because we see athletes like, example, Zach Parise, where he's, he just turned 39, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And, you can look at him and he's going to destroy the Islanders' average age, but doesn't play like a 39-year-old. So I think when you look at the Rangers and in terms of age, like if Blake Wheeler was still playing like a 26, 27-year-old, then no one's going to complain about the age. And same thing with like when Chara came back for the Islanders, he's acting his age, right?
Yes.
Yes. If these players at the Rangers brought in that made them the oldest team in hockey or whatever it is, but they're not playing like a 38, 37, 36-year-old, and the age doesn't matter. And I just think for the Rangers, it's of course Shesterkin. He's probably wants to be a little more consistent than he was last year. You got a leadership. I mean, Trouba, we saw him. This was this past year, right? We threw the helmet and had all that. That was this past year?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you got to see that fire from that leadership. I think they're a good team. And with Shesterkin, they don't have to be, defensively, don't have to be amazing. He bails them out left and right. Same thing with the Islanders and Sorokin. I mean, when the Islanders are playing, if they found a way to play the style they played under Trotz, I mean, if they made Leonard look like a top 3 goal in the league, and we know he was
a Vezina finalist.
He was, but without that defense, I mean, he's getting held out to dry. If you could do that and find a way, if the Rangers could find a way to play more of a lockdown, Shesterkin is going to become the best goalie in the league. Same thing with the Islanders. They find a way to get back to that shutdown style, a lot less pressure on Sorokin, and that means they could play more games because they're not getting 40 shots a game and 30 high danger chances. So I think everything starts for the Rangers. It's going to be in their own zone. And if Shesterkin doesn't have to face that many shots, that means the puck's in the other team zone and Kreider and Panarin, and they can get the Zibanejad, all those things. I think it's for both teams. It's defense and goaltending, and then you work your way up.
Now, Little Ed, you talk about biased opinions here. I'm pretty sure I came on this show a year ago saying that I like this team. I'd like to think one of the 5 of you, or 4 of you, I should say, remember me coming on the show and saying that. But truth remains, I still do like the Ranger team. You guys got to start every major position, right? Up at forward with Panarin. You got Adam Fox on the DN. You got Shesterkin on the back end, right? So just building around that, you guys should be
Mika Zibanejad, don't forget him.
He's okay. He's fine. He's probably a better DJ than a hockey player, let's be honest.
Ooh.
But
I don't know about that.
I've never heard of stuff. But
it's not terrible.
But the point is, you have 3 great core pieces to build around, and then some. I mean, you mentioned Zibanejad. You got Kreider. I mean, you can go down the list. Condre Miller, I like him a lot on D. So there's a lot to like, and I also like the coaching move you guys made over the summer. I think out of the guys that might have been available, I think Laviolette was the no-brainer. I don't think you guys could have done any better than him replacing Gallant. So I'm curious actually what you guys think about that move. But and also I guess I kind of want to throw it back at you guys in the sense that, what went wrong in the season in a sense, because I'm sure you guys were thinking you had dreams of a Stanley Cup last year, right? You guys thought you had enough pieces where you could go on a run. I think you guys were a little shell shocked after going up 2-0 against New Jersey and what ended up happening. But I think the Rangers are a good competitive squad. It's just what perplexes me is I do think that at this stage in the game they should be better than they're showing, especially with those guys that I just named. I think you guys should have beaten an inexperienced New Jersey Devil team in the first round last year. So I'm wondering what went wrong there. Does it all rest on Gallant's shoulders? Was he more of a scapegoat? Or, what was it with that team, and what has you guys, being optimistic about this year?
Let's give that one to Coach to start.
Well, first of all, the only thing I'm going to say that Gallant I didn't like that he did was I'm curious to see what Laviolette does when Panarin starts giving the puck away. He's talking about giving the young guys some time. I'm going to be watching that because I can't believe he's going to put up with that, not playing the system he's going to put in. And I know it's a puck possession system and the left wing lock and all this. Is Panarin going to do his role, or is he going to just, do his little bullshit that I can't stand? And yeah, he puts up the points, but he frustrates the hell out of me. Anybody who listens knows that, and that's a key because he is one of the superstars, and you have to get to the superstars to win. Like I said with Trotz, he got to Ovechkin, he sold it to Ovechkin. Ovechkin bought in, and they won a cup. If your superstars don't buy in, there's no leadership, and I don't know what. That's what I'm going to be watching. That's my big thing. They have the horses to go far, but it's got to be, like you guys said, a leadership group in the locker room, and everybody's got to buy in. And we'll see if Laviolette can bring that to the table. I think he can. We'll see.
I was upset when you guys hired Laviolette. I was like, why couldn't they hire some other guy? Honestly,
I mean,
like,
when
he's
the
going to do
Islanders-
a good job with you guys. He is.
I was shocked when the Islanders let him go way back. To me,
Oh,
he had them in the. I was
that's
like,
another
why are
story
they letting
altogether.
him go? Yeah, why are they letting him go? That guy, I don't know. He's a USA hockey guy. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good coach.
Well,
So we'll see what
I don't
happens.
expect you to remember this, but a guy named Mike Milbury was the one who fired Peter Laviolette. So
Well, he
that
made
might
some
have had
good
something
ones.
to do with it.
There was a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Sure was.
So to piggyback on that a little bit. So what went wrong last year? First of all, the Rangers couldn't match the Devils' speed once the Devils got their feet under them. They just totally dominated every game. Offense, the puck pressure. Every time the Rangers had the puck, there was two Devils on them. It was really hard to watch. It was painful to watch as a fan because the games were still close. For the most part. But we just couldn't get any offensive zone pressure. We couldn't control the puck or win the puck possession game.
Plus the fact we made their goalie look like a superstar, the rookie goalie.
Well, we didn't challenge him with any shots, and part of that was because New Jersey was swarming the puck every time. We just couldn't get to areas of the ice to get good shots, and high danger chances lacked. But also, I think that this team is handcuffed by the lack of development of Lafreniere and Kakko. I mean, honestly, and I think that it's a little bit on the organization more than a lot of fans. There's a lot of fans out there that don't think that. They think that, hey, they're number one picks. They need to produce. I look at the nuances and the context. I mean, they come into the team and they play a third line role. They're asked to play an energy role. They're given sparing chances in the top six. Yes, they have minutes in the top six, but you're yanked, 6 games into it. You can't get going. You can't develop chemistry with anybody. So, in my opinion, this team isn't going to win a cup until those guys are given the reins a little bit more. They got to be on the first power play unit. They got to be given time, and you got to work them in. And it's hard because you got all these superstars. We just had someone on recently. Was it EJ Hradek? I don't remember. Little Ed would know. Who do you take off the first power play to put Lafreniere on there? Who hasn't earned it technically, right? Fox, Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin. Who are you taking off? Right? It's tough. So. Who's the fifth guy? Trocheck? Maybe take him off. So I think that really, to me, I want to see Laviolette do that. And I don't buy in when he says, "Oh, you're gonna give them ice time, the young kids," because Gallant said that. David Quinn said that. So I don't care. I want to see it on the eye. I want to see first line Kakko with Zibanejad. I want to see that for 20 games. Don't change it and see what happens.
Good luck.
We'll see how it's going to be Blake Wheeler, Kreider, and Zibanejad, and then they're going to wonder why Kakko has 40 points at the end of the season. That's what's going to end up happening.
I think Stefen kind of hit it on the head earlier when he said that the superstars have to step up and the leadership group and all that. And I think Gallant's message, the players coach message can only go so far. I mean, I think in the beginning, the players kind of respect that. And they're like, oh, yeah, this guy's awesome. Let's play for him.
Great guy. Great coach.
He loves us. Great guy. Exactly. Then that kind of gets lost where it's like the players can get away with a little bit more than they're used to or they think they can. And then you saw it with the Devils. Giveaways, turnovers, not skating, no forecheck. It's like you need a coach to be like, Kreider, what the hell are you doing? You got to just something like that. And you saw Gallant yelling at the refs way more than he was ever yelling at his players or motivating his players. And I think that was a huge thing. And like I said, that's why there was like a time for a change. And I hope Laviolette kind of brings in that balance where I've seen him yell at the players on the bench and I've seen him get in people's faces. And I think that's something like Coach said, Panarin needs, Kreider needs, Zibanejad definitely needs. Zibanejad sometimes looks like he doesn't even want to be on the bench. And I think there's like it's part of that's where
He's
he's
thinking about
like,
touring Europe.
He's just even
I'm
keeled,
serious.
man. He's
I
fine.
don't know, man. He needs someone to give a little bit more pep in his step sometimes, and a lot of the players do. I mean, even Fox too. He looked shell shocked against the Devils. I'm just saying, like they're not afraid. There has to be like a well balance between not being afraid of making a mistake versus like, okay, there's going to be a consequence if I do make a bad mistake or if I don't play hard.
Over and over.
Right.
You make a mistake in a given game or here and there, I get it.
Right.
But when it's repetitive, then you got to sit them down.
And you got to have a system. Gallant didn't have one. You know, like he really didn't have a real structure to his coaching. It's really that mind-boggling. But anyway, so look, we're not. It's funny because you guys are like really high on the Islanders, and you finished what 14 points below the Rangers. Like, and I feel like we're a little bit like down, you know, on the Rangers generally, with a little bit of positive hope. I think Coach Ed is the most positive, but he's positive every year. I'm
positive. We just got to see it. We know the pieces are in place, so we just have to see it.
If you asked me, is it more likely the Rangers win the division or miss the playoffs? I would pick miss the playoffs if I had to make an honest, objective bet.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, that's not really fair, though. You have teams like Carolina and obviously Pittsburgh now. I mean,
right
that's
there.
Not really fair.
5-6 points behind those teams last year. You know, they were right there.
Yeah, but winning the division with the Devils in Carolina, and that's a lot harder than missing the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's a lot harder to win the division than it is to miss the playoffs.
That is a fact. It is much harder to make the playoffs than miss. All right.
So if you ask me, end up in second in the division or miss the playoffs.
That's a closer bet.
It's a closer bet. Yeah, it is. That's a tough call because I don't know. I just don't see them leapfrogging Carolina or New Jersey. And I think it's more likely, you know, Pittsburgh or the Islanders leapfrog them than they leapfrog New Jersey or Carolina. So
use DraftKings promo code Rangers at 50.
No, not yet.
Win the division or miss the playoffs.
Not yet. No free ads.
Again, why is Carolina so high up in first place? Because Brindamore doesn't tolerate not playing his system.
Yeah.
There is no question when you're on that team, you're playing that system or you're not playing.
Their defense.
Well, hopefully
they're not trading for them. They're not signing those players.
Yep.
I mean,
hopefully Laviolette brings it.
Is as locked down. When the Islanders were going to the back-to-back runs, that's what Carolina's defense is now. So when you have a guy like Freddie Anderson who's always hurt, and a guy like Ronzi who can't really play all the time, it takes so much pressure off them when they're not getting peppered. And then again, with the guys that they have and how deep they are too, you know, they don't have to kill teams because all they got to do is just play that shutdown style. And for most of the season, their defense was healthy. And Slavin is like a Pellick where they're never going to get credit for what they do. Same thing with Pesci.
I love Slavin.
Yeah, but those guys never get credit.
Team. Just a good team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not necessarily just looking at one guy or another. Like just as they're constructed, I mean, you got names, you got even Burns in there now and stuff like that. But they're just, and all the credit in the world to Brindamore, but they're just like one of those well-oiled machines, you know.
That's where it's.
Yeah, but I think they're missing. They're missing a killer too. You know, I mean, I think they're missing a
superstar goal scorer. You have to have one.
Yeah, I think that Svechnikov could do that maybe. I mean, but I don't know. I just don't see that. Who's going to score a goal when the games are tight for Carolina, right? They lose a lot of 2-1 games in the playoffs, things like that.
Who scored the OT goal to end the series? Stefen from the goal line.
I feel like
from the goal line.
Yeah, no. What was Stasny?
Stasny.
Paul Stasny. Yeah, fourth line. Paul Stasny. He'll do it.
In the cups and the playoffs, it's the bottom.
Wait a minute, Sean. I don't want to hear you complain about fourth line players scoring big goals in playoffs, please.
I'm not complaining. I was making a joke that he was the guy who ended their season.
Because the Islanders won 4 cups in a row based on third, fourth line players scoring.
Listen, the playoffs is the time for the bottom 6 to shine. That is a bottom line for sure. Oh my God,
those are the guys you got to look out for.
That was terrible.
Put that on a bumper sticker, man.
Yes. Oh God, just edited that out. Yeah.
Oh man, well, dude, we could talk all night. With you guys, you're easy to talk to, and you're knowledgeable Islander fans, which we're not always accustomed to. Honestly, just like you're not always accustomed to knowledgeable Ranger fans, I'm sure.
I never said that. Now, who are you giving credit to now?
I'm just saying. I'm sure it's the same. Every fan base has their group of fans, but you guys are a pleasure to talk to, and I can't say I wish the Islanders luck because I don't, but I can respect your opinions on their.
We can wish them luck on their show because they have a great show over there, Hockey Night in New York.
Appreciate it. Same to you guys. Always a pleasure to be on. Always a fun time. Do it anytime for sure. Yeah.
I gotta say, not only is Sean an honest Islander fan, he's an honest golfer. which shows character because I played
a lot of character.
I play with people who I've golfed with who literally cheat. For what reason, I don't know. But I say, Sean, what'd you get, a 5? No, I got a 6. Sean, what'd you get, a 4? No, I got a 5. Never takes what he doesn't get.
Coach, I only had 3s and 4s. I don't know what you're talking about. No 5s or 6s.
Yeah,
3s and 4 putts.
Sean, what'd you get, a 4? No, I got an 8.
I gotta go. I gotta go back and try.
He gets the honest golfer award.
I appreciate it. I want to be a better golfer, but I'll take honest for now. Yeah.
Nah, Coach, you were on the green. I flubbed 2 in the fairway. Oh, I didn't see those. Okay, you got a 6.
Yeah, and Stefen, I'm looking forward to reading your articles on NHL.com. So you're the Islanders correspondent. So you're writing for the website. So you'll be writing Islanders content.
Mostly, what it'll be game stories for them, and then features when they happen or breaking news. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to be doing, but whenever they need me and they need quotes and they need stories, I'm at a computer. So
are you in the locker room interviewing them after the game?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll be reading the cliff notes that Cousin Ed writes about those articles.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody clicked, so that's all that matters, right?
Well, go ahead, Ed. What were you asking him?
No, I was just saying, are you in the locker room interviewing the players? So you're one of the people with like the cell phone up, but you can't see their face.
Yeah, you could always see my cell phone transcribing in real time.
Right. It's just like a phone up in the guy's face.
My dad would be like, I see your phone. Your phone was on the screen. I was like,
yeah, I see your phone case.
You're famous.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it's a dream job. Just need dream money, and then I'm all set.
Don't we all?
When you ask a question in those interviews, speak up so we can hear the question. Because in these press conferences,
mic, then I can't scream at them.
Well,
where's the mic?
You guys don't care about the Islander press conferences anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, we don't. But I can. Now that I know an Islanders correspondent, I'll be checking it.
Yeah, now he's.
I might check it out.
Check it out.
Right.
Yeah, if they're close enough to them, maybe you get picked up on it. But usually the mic's in their face, and it's right there. Or usually MSG always sounds the best because they have the mics right there. We just have our phones. So I'll speak up for sure.
I forget which game we were at, Coach. Remember you and we passed Stefen in the hallway, and I was like, oh, I think that was Stefen that's on Hockey Night in New York. You might not remember, but you were in a suit and you were moving really fast. Otherwise, I was going to say hello, but you were on the move, and I let you do your thing.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, say hi anytime. You can stop me.
For sure. Next time we will.
Just don't close.
Yeah, so before we close up and let you guys go for the night, put in not bold prediction, but gun to your head where the Islanders finish this year in the Metro and playoff wise. You've been saying they can end up with a wide range of finishes. So what's your thought?
Last year.
Yeah, well,
final answer.
Go ahead,
I was going to say top wild card spot. I really don't think it'll take 82 games. I think they'll have that solidified probably by March. I would think if everything goes the way they want it to, in terms of just health, I think they're top wild card team for sure.
I think that's the safe pick for the Islanders as a top wild card spot. If I'm being optimistic, if I had a full night's sleep and I wake up feeling cheery, maybe I'll say the 3 spot and overtaking the Rangers. But I think that the top wild card spot's probably the sweet spot for the Islanders this year. So
yeah, I think that's fair. We'll see. It's really competitive conference, so we'll see where they end up, and you guys will have to listen to see where we place the Islanders when we do our season preview.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
They're going to be 34th overall, guys. They're going to be relegated to the AHL.
Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Coyotes.
They're making the playoffs. Coyotes are making the playoffs. They're going to do it.
Ooh, that's a hot take. We'll see.
You think so?
Second wild card spot. Look at
Wow.
That's a bold prediction.
Wow.
That's real.
Here first.
And last year,
that, Mikey.
last year I made a bet with my friend they wouldn't win over 11 games. So I've changed my thought process on them.
What made you change? What player acquisition?
For the first time
Was it Matt
ever,
Dumba?
just for the first time ever, they're making moves rather than taking on bad deals. I think, the Logan Cooley coming in, just their whole mindset now of like, all right, we actually want to compete. And I mean, the Islanders didn't play well against the Coyotes last year at all. But watching the Coyotes, there were a lot of games where the Coyotes were, I mean, they beat Toronto every time they played them. There were a lot of games where the Coyotes looked really
scrappy.
Good. Veg Milk,
they have some talent.
He saw, again, Dumba is not a superstar. Bringing guys in like that have played many games in the NHL and have that leadership, I mean, that changes everything. And they're young too.
It's establishing the culture.
Yeah, and I just think that was one of the teams that'll just surprise you, where you go into the season thinking, all right, they're probably going to take steps forward but not be a great team, and then they get off to a really strong start. And then I think they have the talent.
They're going to ride the energy.
Sean Dursey, too. That was a good move.
They're going to ride the energy of Mullet Arena to the second wild card in the West. That's what it's
yeah, well,
Mullet Arena.
Yeah. Out of all the places I traveled, Mullet was awesome.
Did you even host a playoff game there?
Yeah.
I'm sure Gary Bettman is having nightmares thinking about it. So he hopes Stefen's prediction does not come true.
Yeah.
He's probably hoping they. Yeah, I like the Coyotes. I got a soft spot for them and their fans. I feel bad, but.
Did you have a soft spot for Islander fans when they were going through their arena troubles?
No, I just loved it, and I loved it from Florida.
You loved it.
I was just watching from afar, So.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I hated it because I liked going to the Coliseum, and going to the Barclays was a nightmare.
For $3.
Yeah, growing up, going to the Coliseum was awesome. I used to catch games all the time there, even though I was a Ranger fan. So for sure. But I mean, from afar, being in Miami, just seeing Islanders lose their arena, Islanders go to Barclays. That's an epic failure. No one can get to the games. The Islanders are back in the Coliseum. Islanders are going somewhere else. I was enjoying it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, at least you're honest about it. At least those days are behind us.
Yeah.
You guys do have a pretty rabid fan base, though, I will say, and deserve to settle in somewhere and just go.
Oh, look at you. Look at you, Mr.
No, I'll say it. Like the Islanders fans, it's annoying to hear the announcers talk about how difficult it is to play the Islanders, in their at home, but it's true. I mean, they're loud and obnoxious, and riles up the team. So yeah, they deserve an arena. Stay somewhere. Stay somewhere.
Okay, I'll take that.
They deserve a sheet of ice.
Yeah, a sheet of ice
and a roof and some lights. Yeah.
No asbestos. Yeah.
Right. All right. I'll take that. All
right. Well, that's the best you're gonna get. So I'm glad you take it.
Oh man.
All right, boys. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
We'll have you back.
Always a pleasure.
Great time.
Guys.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Oh, they're just so high on the Islanders. I love it. They think
Optimism,
they're so good.
as always.
They're like Jet fans.
No, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't want to rain in their parade because they know way more about the team than we do. But it's like, I don't know, man. I could see the wild card spot again. Yeah, Sorokin obviously is a huge wild card and can take any team to a playoff spot. So there's no doubt about that. But I don't know. That team just doesn't do it for me. We'll see. I guess it's true with Horvat and Barzal. If they are healthy and perform, you never know. But
I got a bone to pick with you guys.
What did I do?
So you were talking smack about a 30-point score signing for, was it 3.5? Scott Mayfield signed for?
No, Engvall, $3 million. Yeah,
Engvall.
Gotcha. And we got Hedel over here putting up 40 points, signing for $4 million plus.
Well, it's a little different. Hedel's scored 20 goals. Engvall's never scored 20 goals. Hedel's 23. Engvall's 27. So one player is probably what they are, and the other one is developing and probably going to get better. So you're paying a little bit for future value with Hedel. You're hoping Hedel turns into a $6 million player, and you got him at $4 million, right? So it's a little bit of a different situation. Yeah, it's a bet, right? It's a bet. With young guys, when you sign them to 4+ years, 22, 23 years old, you're betting that you're going to turn that into a value contract. Engvall could be a value contract. Sure. I mean, he might develop at 28. It happens. But he just is what he is to me. I mean, he's a speedy forechecker. He's a good player, but he's a replaceable guy. You know, he's a 15-goal, 30-point guy on a third line. He's an energy player. Like, I don't know. A 7-year deal for a guy like that is crazy to me, especially when you're saying bring the AAV down. I would think Engvall's AAV at 7 years to bring it down would be like 2 or 1.8 or something like that. 3 would be his like height of his contract, but I don't know. I think it was a bad signing, but they are correct that you can move that deal pretty easily. So if it ends up being an albatross in the sense that he's terrible, they'll be able to trade him.
You can move Hedo's deal pretty easily too.
Hedl can be moved. Yeah, he's got no. Look, Hedl is a trade candidate. I know you're busting my chops, but he is mainly because there's no one else that is a trade candidate because of no move clauses.
Yeah, there's no one else you can trade.
Right. So if they need to clear salary, Hedl's an option, and he's one of the top options to clear salary for sure. But I hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, Coach, you were awfully quiet. No chirping. I was surprised.
What are you talking about? I talked to him about the guy Nystrom scoring overtime goals, Tonelli. I had to live through that crap. And he's bitching about Stasny scoring from the goal line. Yeah, all right, it happens.
Oh, you know what we forgot to ask him about is the paintball.
Well, we're rescheduling that. I mean, it was a little short notice. I mean, we couldn't put it together, so we're rescheduling the paintball match.
Good.
We're probably going to do it a little more.
I need to work out a little.
Probably the fall, so we could wear a little bit more clothing, so we can.
This fall. Fall?
Yeah, maybe
October,
anyway. November.
Next fall.
What? Like
this fall?
This fall, like 2 months from now, 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're definitely better off. I've done the paintball in the summer. It's brutal.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. I was like, it's going to be too hot. We were kind of scrambling to get people to come. So I appreciate everyone who showed interest, but yeah, we're going to look ahead to do some content with them, and we might try and do a little golf match before the end of the summer while it's still hot out. But paintball is definitely going to be moved to the cooler months. If you're able to wear more layers, the paintballs don't hurt as much. Cousin Ed's going to be out there in a parka.
I'm going to be out there like this.
Body armor.
Like Jabba the Hutt.
Cousin Ed's going to get the...
I have like 10 paintballs.
You got to get the Gore-Tex jacket, Costanza.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, but things like that, for sure. Me and Sean have talked about it. We're going to do some shows together, hopefully, and things like that. I mean, we teased it a little bit. Hopefully we'll have Shrimp on and have those guys on as well and do some joint shows. So, yeah, Sean's become a good friend, and hopefully Stefen, best of luck to him, to Hockey News and NHL.com, but he's going to become a good friend as well, hopefully. And, yeah, we have some frenemies over there on Long Island, and it was fun to stop over there and talk Isles for a little while, chirp them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they make good points. They're knowledgeable about the game. They're knowledgeable about their team and or about the Islanders. And it's kind of hard to chirp when they're just being like honest about the Rangers. I'm sitting there like, well, if you're saying the Rangers are good, how am I going to look if I just say the Islanders suck? Yeah.
No, they're realistic. They know what they're talking about without a doubt. And
they got a great show.
Yeah, they have a great show over at Hockey Net in New York, so check that out. They always have a lot of good guests, so even if you don't want to listen to all the Islanders talk, at least listen to some of their interviews. They actually had Peter Laviolette on the show at the end of last season, I think, before he signed or accepted the job with the Rangers. So
that's right.
That was a great that was a great interview. I don't know why that didn't come up because we talked about Laviolette for like 15, 20 minutes. I don't know why Sean wouldn't say something. But well,
you could have said something. I forgot.
I didn't think of it either. But it was his interview.
He's like, oh, I forgot.
It's not my interview.
So wait,
check that out and check out the show.
More pressing questions for the paintball. Is Oscar playing?
I'm sure Oscar will try and be involved for sure.
Which side is he going to be on?
That's a good question. I gotta hope he's on the
Because I'm
Rangers
still
side.
waiting for my Kovalev jersey.
You teased
you
it last
just
time.
ruined
Now
it.
you told you just ruined it.
Oh, so clip that. Just
I'm
clip
not
that.
Wait a
out.
minute. Wait a minute. Oscar wouldn't be on our team?
You
No,
better
of
be
course
on
he
our
would be.
team.
I was just busting chops. I'm
Oh.
busting Oscar's chops. Yeah, cut that part, Mike. And that one. And that one. And that one. All right, boys. Next week, where are we stopping? With Neil at Devil State of Mind?
We are stopping a short road trip over to New Jersey, hitting the Meadowlands.
local.
Awesome.
I like interviewing with Neil because then I could take a nap while he's talking.
No, Neil is really passionate.
All
about
you
the
got to do,
Devils.
all you got to do is say, Neil. So, what do you think about who's the guy I don't like? Dougie Hamilton. He goes off for like 20 minutes.
Hey, he's got the solo show over at Devil State of Mind.
without a
so I
doubt.
can't even imagine how
Just
you
clip
do
this
that.
whole part. Just
I
clip
feel-
this whole part.
Nah,
out.
this is
I
good.
love
This is good.
him. I'll say it to his face. I don't care. I think he's the kid knows his stuff and he talks. He goes on and on. He definitely has a good voice on the radio on the YouTube.
Coach goes in the beginning of the interview of the episode. He goes, "All right, well, that's how I feel. So what else is going on?" I died. They were like, "What?" Like, did you see their faces?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Sean almost spit out his drink all over his camera.
Yeah, it's so good. It's gonna be fun with Neil next week, though. So thanks again to Sean and Stefen with Hockey Night in New York. Check them out.
Yep.
If you're an Islander fan and for some reason listening to this, check out Hockey Night in New York. They're excellent. And if you're a Ranger fan, look for that Peter Laviolette episode. Give it a listen. It was really well done, and it might give you some insight into what to look for in the Rangers' new head coach. And I think that's it, boys. Until next week.
Yeah, stay tuned for the rest of the Rivalry Tour schedule. And yeah, I can't wait for some more hockey. And
I think we need to get a little map for the Rivalry Tour so we can show like the road
put a
trip
little car where we're going. Little Rangers at RV.
Yeah, little Rangers at RV. And like a little map and maybe if you can, like some animation of the car moving. Coach Ed going like this or something.
Out in Denver, I was watching some of that 3-on-3 league they had on TV.
Okay. I forgot you went to Denver. You didn't talk about it.
I think it's called Ice or something. The league is called Ice. They had it last year as well. Yeah, they had it last year as well. Leclerc coached the team. Each team is like coached by an ex-NHL player.
Who are the players?
Interesting.
I didn't have the volume on. It was in a bar. It was in a brewery. But it looked pretty wild, very fast paced. It was like an overtime game constantly.
Yeah, they should just do that for. They should make like a summer league, which I guess that's kind of what they did. But too bad more superstars. Well, it sounds like there aren't many notable players that you recognize without any volume.
Well, the teams don't want guys playing in those leagues, man.
Oh,
they get injured or something.
Yeah, there's no current players, and it would be a guy like Schremp in there, like.
Oh, I thought it was current play. Well, they do the beauty league, current players playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's like pond hockey, but either way. Oh, okay. I thought it was current players you were talking about. So it's all retired people, retired players, or
guys that didn't make it,
trying to fight for spots or contracts.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. Have to check it out.
Yeah, Coach. I wish you would have told me about your trip earlier.
I tried sending you guys pictures. I didn't send. Did you get the pictures?
Yeah, you sent me 93 pictures yesterday.
I didn't get any. No. 93 pictures. How did you?
It took so long to come through. I was like, "What's going on? What is this?"
93 pictures. How did you even do that?
It came through iCloud, I think.
It came up on my phone in memories or whatever, and it says share it, and I sent it to Eddie, Aaron, and Chad and Lance. I'll send it to you.
Hey, 93 is a good omen. That's Mika Zibanejad's number. All right. On that note, boys, let's call it. Until next week.
Love you guys.
All right, boys.
Love
Have
you
a good
guys.
night.
You guys.
Good
Bye.
work, boy.
Nice road trip.
93
Get on that-
pictures.
Get on that Twitter.